Welcome to Understanding Wine Perception, Preferences, and Values. The New Wine Fundamentals is the only curriculum that starts with learning about yourself so that you can better learn about wine. Learning about wine's challenging enough, and especially if you don't understand our differences in how we perceive things. It's no wonder wine language is so confusing because people are literally having completely different experiences with the same wines than trying to describe what it is that they're experiencing. Differences in perception also explain a lot of the contradictory messages and information that you may hear over time. And one of the things that happens with all this confusion is a lot of people start questioning themselves, like, why don't I like the wines that I'm told I'm supposed to like? And the long and short of it, you should love what you love. Follow your passions, the flavors that you want the most. Whether you like dry wines, whether you like sweet wines, whether you like them intense and complex, or whether you like them just delicate and smooth, it's all up to you. And the New Wine Fundamentals will provide you with a really great base for your own personal confidence as you're exploring your passions in wine. Understanding why you like what you like is also going to provide you with some insights, understanding why other people like what they like, which might not be what you like. This is about what you experience, how you interpret the experience, and then your personal wine preferences and values. And by understanding your personal preferences, you can keep the focus on enjoyment, drinking wines that taste wonderful to you, having the wines that you love with the foods you really enjoy and that you eat every day, and then learning to understand and celebrate our individual differences and preferences. There are two pieces to the wine preference puzzle. Hey, I can even do a puzzle with two pieces. And this is what determines why you like what you like. Piece number one is sensory physiology, and the second piece is sensory psychology. One of the ways to think about sensory physiology is like our sensory hardware. It's actually the receptors and how many you have, and these determine the intensity and the range of sensations that's sent to the brains. So one reason one person might go yum versus another going yuck could be simply that their sensory hardware is sending different information. This is why sensations that occur to you might be totally different from what's happening to the person sitting next to you or across the table. The sensory psychology part of this could be thought about as your sensory software. Your sensory software is programmed over time. It's how your brain processes the information that it receives all throughout life. And then your emotions and judgments strongly connected to your personal memories and experiences of sensations. Our sensory physiology determines what we sense, and the psychology end of it determines what it all means. Your personal wine preferences are your unique combination of your sensory hardware and software. Okay, it's your sensory sensitivity, your life experiences and memories associated with where you've been and what you've done. It's about culture and environment, how you've grown up in your family and with your culture and your peers. And then over time, it's learning and observation. So it's new elements that are constantly being rearranged in your brain. At the end of the day, this creates your personal opinions. This is right, this is wrong. Oh, that's good, but that's bad. And I like this and I don't like that. This will go also a long way in helping you understand why there's so many contradictory points of view and so much confusion about wine quality and value. It's funny that almost nobody in the wine industry or wine educators really deeply understand the differences in our sensory physiology. So let's drill into that a little bit. It's really, really important to understanding preferences. Human beings have different physiology. Duh. That should be of no surprise to anybody. And when you go in to buy a pair of shoes, you expect somebody knows the size of your foot. And if a shoe doesn't fit, they don't somehow make the assumption that you need shoe education, or when your feet mature, you'll appreciate better shoes. But that's kind of what's going on in the wine world without understanding really big differences in our sensory physiology and what it means in terms of our preferences. Being human, what we're going to do is first jump to some sort of a conclusion that having more taste buds is good and having less taste buds is bad. Get over it, all right? It's just an anatomical feature. There's no better or worse, and there's advantages at both extremes. So on the left, you're going to see a representation of a tongue with lots and lots, very high density of taste buds. Now, things are much more complex than I'm going to talk about here, because there are a lot of other variables that come into play. But just simply put, there are people who are highly, highly sensitive to taste and smell and touch and so on. And in terms of taste buds, some people have more than 12 or even 13,000 taste buds. At the other extreme are people who have less than 500 taste buds, and even as few as 300. And somewhere around 3,000 is average. We're going to help you discover what your taste sensitivity is, because this plays a very, very important factor in determining the range of wines and styles that you like, and also why different people have radically different opinions about the experiences they're having with wine. A lot of differences in opinion over appropriate foods and beverages way beyond wine can be explained by understanding the taste sensitivity quotient. Sweet and hypersensitive tasters very often can't even drink coffee because it's so bitter. If they have something high in alcohol, it burns and it hurts. Very, very unpleasant. They tend to love salt. It's the people with the most taste buds that are the ones dumping the salt on their food before even tasting it, and it's to suppress bitterness that they're acutely, acutely sensitive to. They'll also experience artificial sweetener in a whole different dimension. It'll be bitter and horrible and metallic tasting, and they can't even figure out how in the world anybody would ever use the stuff. When you compare the sweet and the hypersensitive taster to a sensitive taster, sensitive tasters tend to be very adventurous and tend to have the broadest range of preferences. They might have their coffee with cream and sugar in it one time of day and black later on. They may or may not like salt. They'll find it a little too easier to give up the salt if they do have hypertension or high blood pressure or things like that. And while they might find artificial sweetener disgusting, very often it'll be just simply they find it different, not quite the same as sugar, and even over time might come to prefer the artificial over the real sweetener because it's got a different taste profile. Now compare this against the tolerant taster. Alcohol tastes sweet, not burning and horrible. And this is why there's so much argument between wine experts that don't understand taste sensitivity quotients, and that one person's getting this horrible, bitter, burning taste while somebody else is going, what are you, crazy or something? This is smooth and rich and delicious. The tolerant tasters very typically have no problem with salt, take it or leave it. And artificials, not only are they not a problem, but they just don't like sweetness that much to begin with. It's something easy for them to give up because they don't need the sweetness and they don't need the salt to help suppress and mask bitterness that they're not really all that sensitive to or capable of experiencing. Your taste sensitivity quotient then translates into a lot of preferences for different wine types. So here you're going to see under each category of taste sensitivity quotient the general characteristics that people look for in wine relative to their sensitivity quotient. We're going to expand this more and more, and as we go through the New Wine Fundamentals program, when we start to get into the actual tastings of wines, we'll be doing them by flavor categories so that you can try wines from different grape varieties, different regions of the world, and they'll all share certain general common characteristics. This slide will give you kind of a preview of how that's going to look. If you look underneath sweet wines, you're going to see White Zinfandel, Riesling, Moscato, and over time we'll add Italian wines and French wines and German wines. There's lots and lots of dry, delicate wines. They're lighter intensity from all around the world, all sorts of different grape varieties and styles. Then there's a category of wines that are richer tasting and they're very smooth, going into then finally the intense wines, the fullest bodied, the most tannic, and the strongest tasting. And don't ever forget that these are just general groups of taste sensitivities, and that all the elements of your taste physiology is changeable over time by decisions you'll make and new experiences and new learning, so that you may start in one category and gravitate psychologically up or down the scale to different places. This is how we're going to use your taste physiology in learning about wines that'll give you the most pleasure. There's a tired old adage in wine that as your palate matures, you grow to appreciate better wines. It's actually a matter of neural plasticity. It's not your palate changing. It's the new experiences. It's how your brain is wired. It is sensory psychology. And here's how it works. So you smell or see or taste or hear or feel something. And then your brain compares that to past experiences, and you then use that information to evaluate something, form opinions, and try to figure it out. So it's your opinions and how you interpret wine sensations that also comes very, very heavily into play in forming your personal opinions. Okay, so in a nutshell, here's how this works. Your memories and experiences affect how you describe wines and your preferences. How this might work is you smell a wine like a Sauvignon Blanc that's got a very distinct grassy characteristic, and you have grass allergies. Your brain might tell you, run away, this sucks, stay away, don't drink it, all right? On the other hand, it could be your memories of summer and mowing the lawn and going and playing baseball, and all those things might be embedded in your brain, and when you smell it, it's bringing back those memories. That would be very positive, probably something you might be passionate about and love the wine. Keep in mind also neural plasticity. The brain adapts and changes. So you might today hate Sauvignon Blanc, but then have some wondrous experience around Sauvignon Blanc and a dinner and going to the wine country or with friends or so on. And that can completely overwrite the old software, and now you relate a wonderful experience to that same smell. This introduction is a requirement for the new Wine Fundamentals curriculum. As you taste and read and share about wine, you're going to see more and more how imperative it is to know that why you like what you like might not coincide at all with why somebody else likes what they like, regardless of their expertise. This will give you a lot more confidence when you're exploring the different types and styles of wines. You don't have to like what anybody else likes, regardless of who they are and what they think. You get to determine what's the appropriate price for a wine, whether it's really expensive or if you love to find something inexpensive for daily use and to share with friends. You might love red wines or pink wines or bubbly wines or white wines, dry wines or sweet wines. It's all up to you. The thing is that understanding these principles is going to make the wine community a much more friendly place to be, and celebrating the diversity of physiology and points of view and perspectives. And that really brings everybody to the table having a much better time. Okay, so here's what to do with all your newfound knowledge and insights. Practice and pass it on. You can go to yumyuk.com, yumyuk.com, and you'll find the Taste SQ interview there. You can do it with friends and family or people at work. See what they think. Practice at this and get really good at it. And then you can be part of our mission to understand, embrace, and cultivate all wine consumers. Swear to you, it's way, way more fun, and you'll learn so much more when you've got confidence in yourself from understanding these principles.